thanks for the reply. I was hoping to join the roundtable, so I'll be here.
The Workbench tonight, that's at 8 o'clock local, and the roundtable is at 8 on Thursday, so we'll look forward to having you join us at the roundtable. This is WA3VEE.
I believe that gentleman, Ron, was at Field Day. I think he's retired from Bell Labs. So if that's the case, sir, great to hear you on my repeater, W3GMS.
Yes, Joe, you're right. I met you guys on Sunday morning. It was a fun time. Thank you.
Okay, I won't get in the way of the net, but this is the Workbench that we're talking about. It's great to hear you, and we'll talk later. 7-3, W3GMS clear.
The Workbench. I'm located in Westchester, Pennsylvania. We meet every Monday at 8 p.m. on the W3GMS Parksburg repeater. Frequency is 146.985 with a negative 600 kilohertz offset, and the PL tone is 100 hertz. For those who use the tone squelch on receive, the repeater transmits a squelch tone of 94.8, which comes especially handy if you have a rig that handles that when there are band openings. Newcomers are very welcome. We encourage all stations to check in, and especially the station that just checked in. A warm welcome to you here on 985 and to the Workbench. Take a look at the repeater website located at www.w3gmsrepeater.com. It has lots of information, including technical articles, pictures of 985 users in action, and repeater etiquette and history. Please be aware that on occasion the repeater experiences intermod interference. Now is a good time to switch to maximum power or to be prepared to check in digitally through Echolink or All-Star. We want to hear you. To be able to use Echolink or All-Star on 985, you do need to register with us. Directions for doing so can be found on the website. Again, that's W3GMSrepeater.com. Also, when intermod is present before starting any transmission, please give a short call out to the net control. Happens to be me. Am I getting in okay? Once the host confirms that, then you can share your longer comments. Here on the Workbench, we focus on answering general questions of radio theory and operation. Additionally, we invite each station to briefly comment on your amateur radio activity in the past week. When checking in, please indicate if you have a question for the Workbench. If you don't have a question, please still check in. After all stations have checked in, we will first share what we've done this past week in amateur radio using a roundtable format. Please write down the call the station that checks in right after you. When you have finished your comments, turn the mic over to that station. Once we have made our comments, we will start the question and answer portion of the Workbench, operating as a directed net. I will call on a station that indicated having a question, then for stations who wish to respond to that question. Wait to be recognized by net control before beginning a transmission. Also, this is the point where you at the first part of this net, if you're new to this is where you just say you have a question, but don't post a question. We will call for the actual question in the second part of the Workbench. At times, helps for two stations though to pass the mic back and forth to help clarify the situation and pass information. Feel free to do that as needed. Pass a mic back to net control. Also, and this is a good rule to follow all the time, don't be too quick to talk. Pause a couple seconds before hitting the press to talk switch. This is good repeater etiquette, and the pauses are especially helpful for those on All-Star and Echolink. When you do click the PTT button, wait a second or two before starting to talk. You don't want to miss what you have to say. It takes a moment for the repeater to process your PL tone. Also, the repeater has a 3-minute timer. If you talk more than 3 minutes without letting up on your mic button, the repeater completely shuts down until you release your PTT switch. So every 2 to 3 minutes, release the mic button just for a moment, just like this, and then you can continue. You don't need to let the repeater carrier drop. Before we begin, I want to say thanks to all of our Workbench hosts. They're the ones that make this happen. If you may be interested in hosting a Workbench, please contact Jim, AF3Z, or any one of us, and we'll help you get started. Lastly, please join us this Thursday at 8 p.m. for the 985 Roundtable. At this time, we're going to start the check-in process. Remember to indicate if you have a question for the group. So, digital stations only, those using Echolink or All-Star. It's time for you to check in, and I will leave long pauses. So hopefully you don't need to check the obit column. I will be back, but I leave long pauses to make it easier for those, especially on Echolink, to check in. Digital stations only, those using Echolink or All-Star. This is WA3VEE, and you're listening to the 985 Workbench. Please check in now. Digital only.
I have one comment quickly, Ron.
Right ahead.
Did you start the net when I was talking to our new guest?
At 8 o'clock in about 6 seconds.
I was trying to make a final transmission to him, and when I signed, you were talking, so I assume that was an accident. But please wait till I'm done, regardless of the time, especially when I'm trying to get a message through. And I let up and you were talking, and I was on the digital side. You're on the RF side, so you just completely disconnected me. So I'm sure it was a misunderstanding. 7-3, and thanks all, W3GMS.
I didn't hear anything. I did not hear anything. That's why I started the net.
I figured something like that happened. Not an issue. I knew you must not have heard me, because I knew you would not do it. But especially as the owner of the repeater, if I'm talking to somebody at 8 o'clock, the net can start at 8 o'clock plus 15 seconds. And I know there must have been a technical difficulty, which happens. Have fun, take care, and thank you very, very much for running the Workbench tonight. W3GMS clear.
Stations, please call now. This is WA3VEE.
Whiskey 8, Charlie Romeo Whiskey, CR, no question.
KC3HQZ, I have a question.
Alpha Charlie 2 Echo Golf, no questions.
Alpha 3 Lima Hotel, no question. We just got a bad thunderstorm.
Oh. Kilo Victor 3 Juliet Golf Bravo, no questions.
So far we have WHCRW, KC3HQZ, Gene with a question. We have Alpha Charlie 2 Echo Golf, Alpha 3 Lima Hotel, and we have KV3JGB. Any other digital question, any other digital check-ins, please call now.
KC3SQI with a question.
KC3 WWC with a question.
Are there any additional digital check-ins? This is WA3VEE. Let's go to RF check-ins now. This is WA3VEE, and this is the 985 Workbench. Please call out.
W3TYX.
NA3CW, no question.
KC3OOK, no question.
Kilo Delta 3, Echo Mike Sierra, no question.
Alpha Foxtrot 3 Zulu, no question.
W3KZG, no question.
KD3AIS with a question.
Okay, any additional check-ins before we run down the list and get started? This is WA3VEE. We'll start a roundtable session in a moment. This is the list that I have here, so remember who follows you in this list and turn it over to them. WHCRW, KC3HQZ with a question, AC2 Echo Golf, AA3LH, KV3JGB, KC3SQI, KC3WWC, and Wayne and John both have questions. KC3TYX, NA3CW, KC3OOK, KD3EMS, AF3Z, W3KZG, and finally KD3AIS with a question. One last call for check-ins before we get started. This is WA3VEE. Please call now. Okay, we'll take 1 minute and explain what we did in the last, each of us explain what we did in the last week in amateur radio, and CR, you can kick us off. WHCRW, WA3VEE.
Thanks, Ron, and thanks for taking the chair. And you got a long list, so I'm going to make it quick. 985 activities, but the highlight was field day weekend, and the highlight of the highlight was Gene's Scrapple and Egg Sandwich. Speaking of Gene, KC3HQZ, pick it up, WHCRW.
Go ahead.
Thanks, CRW. KC3HQZ. Yeah, that was kind of a highlight. I cooked for everybody, and they all enjoyed it, and I was glad. And that's why I cook. Okay.
No question.
Okay. But we did have a good weekend. We really enjoyed ourselves. I'm not sure who was next.
Echo Golf Juliet, I believe.
Okay, Echo Golf Juliet, I think
Echo
it's next.
Juliet.
KC3HQZ.
This is Alpha Charlie 2 Echo Golf. Name here is Eric, and my activity this week was introducing myself to the group and getting out to field day. I want to thank everyone there for their hospitality and introducing me to all the things the repeater group does. Hoping to get on the air soon and doing it the hard way. I'm trying to build my own stuff rather than buy it, but I'll still be around as long as there's an Echo link. That's all for now. I'll pass the baton to AA3LH.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. This is AA3LH. Yeah, highlights. Field day. Man, I like field days. I went out there and tried making some contact Sunday afternoon, and I got dupes. Almost all of them were dupes. I did make one official legal contact, and I was not a dupe. But I have fun. It's fun running field day. I just enjoy that. And we have a heavy thunderstorm going on. We got boomers. I thank the Lord, and I thank Joe for having Echo Link so we can still talk. Other than that, we would not be on the repeater tonight because she's not banging away outside. That's all I have. We have a lot of questions, so I'm going to let it go at that. Okay. Yeah. Who did I write down here? Oh, I'm not sure. Whoever follows me, go ahead. AA3LH.
Thank you, Leon. KV3JGB, Mountain Valley. Like everybody said, got a lot of questions and a lot of people, so I'll keep it brief. 95 repeater activity and, of course, field day. Unfortunately, some personal things prevented me from attending and actually even operating at field day. But sounds like you didn't need me that much. We had a great field day, and I was able to make it up. Brought Chester County Commissioner Eric Rowe up there. He was really excited to listen to a lot of people talk, including Ron, talk about all the emergency benefits of amateur radio. So that is it for me, and I'll hand it over to KC3SQI, KV3JGB.
Thank you very much. This is KC3SQI. Got the 30-meter new antenna mast about ready to go and about ready to set up. Got to put the cross member on it and set it up right, but it is put together and ready to go as soon as the weather breaks a little bit so that I can work out there without sweating to death. So with that, I'll turn it over to KC3WWC. This is KC3SQI.
This is KC3WWC. Can you tell me if I'm getting in on RF?
Now you are, John. Just go ahead.
It's John in Landisville. For my past couple weeks, I was traveling. I was in California, so I got to activate a park twice. One day I hiked my gear in 1.5 miles on my back, and then the next day I was out there. I biked a couple miles in and up a mountain, so I wasn't down in the valley there, in the canyon. Otherwise, I got back just in time for the last bit of field day, so I kept it QRP, emergency power, on the patio here at home, so my 50 contacts turned into 650 points. I'll hand it over to Vic, KC3TYX. This is KC3WWC.
Thank you, John. KC3WWC. This is KC3TYX. Vic. I'll keep it pretty short. Got a long list here. Ended up doing field day with the State Line Radio Club down in Rising Sun, Maryland this year, and it was a pretty good time. Weather wasn't as bad as we thought it might be, so I was happy with it. I didn't say earlier, but I have no question, and I will now pass it on to Chuck, NA3CW from KC3TYX.
Am I making it in okay, NA3CW?
Copy, Chuck. Go ahead.
Very good. Standing here with my HT. We've got a thunder boomy going on outside, so I disconnected everything and shut all the equipment off. So since I am within HT distance of the repeater, I got that luxury. I'll keep it short because of the list. Ham radio this week was field day prep, field day operations, and field day cleanup. And, of course, 985 operations and the PM/AM net on Sunday. So, let's see, that would be next to Bill, KC30OK. This is NA3CW.
NA3CW, KC30OK, mobile stationary. Yeah, we had a little bit of rain, a lot of lightning, but as usual, not much rain here. So I'm out in the truck for the moment. I'll be heading back in the shop. About the same for me. It was actually a more radioactive week than a lot for me. Started out Thursday night. I hosted a modified round table. There was an accident and a line of poles down at 30, so the repeater was down, but we were able to get, I guess, 5 or 6 people on the 985 simplex. And then Saturday night, I was south control for the simplex net. Sunday night, I was net control for the Lancaster County Welfare net. And all week was preparing for field day, trying to help us stay out of the way, and I had a ton of fun. So with that, I'll turn it over to Chris, KD3EMS, KC30OK.
Good evening, everybody. Bill, great to meet you on Saturday. So yeah, the highlight will definitely be field day for myself. With only being a ham for a couple months, that was my first field day, and what an experience! I cannot say enough about AF3Z Jim. I got the chance to sit down next to him for a good probably 20 minutes, so half an hour, and just learn so much. Definitely also from Chuck, NA3CW, doing the GOTA station. What an experience that was. It definitely makes me want to get my general sooner than later. So it was my first contact on HF, and I got a good 7 or 8 contacts on Saturday. So once again, thanks to everybody, especially even the people that are on here tonight, as well as what was the other gentleman's name? K3YVI, Jack, was also extremely helpful as well. So, yeah, this definitely boosted my urge to get my general license and move on. So, I believe I'm actually going to pass it back over to AF3Z.
Okay, very good, Chris. Yeah, it was good to get to talk with you as well. And, yeah, that was fun. Field day was good. A little warmer than I'd like, but it really wasn't too oppressive this year. And got some good CW in, worked with Luke for a while there, logging and sending or whatever. I forget who was doing what when, but we had a good time. And I did a good pratfall and survived it quite well. I remember very carefully setting up, putting the wires and, trying to get them neat. And we had cones up so people wouldn't trip over them. So who but me would come walking by, eating some food and totally forget about it and fall flat on my face almost. But I really survived it quite well. Thanks to Tom, TMT, now I'm forgetting his prefix, KC3TMT? I'm not sure on that. But anyway, Tom was my doctor and helped patch me up. But I'm really doing quite well. So anyway, yeah, thanks to everybody and all the people who put a lot of work into getting ready for that. Good time. So after me comes Scott. Good to see you and Dylan both over the weekend too. W3KZG, AF3Z.
F3Z, this is W3KZG. Am I getting into the repeater, Ron?
Beautifully, Scott. Go right ahead.
This week in radio, what did I do? I don't know. Well, I did attend field day. That was my first field day.
I think my brother Dylan, he had done field day up there before, and a few times when it was down at Daniel's dad's shop. But I had never attended, and this was the first one, and I feel like it was a success, and it was actually, I think everything went pretty smooth, honestly. Of course, I wasn't there for the previous year's growing pains, but a few more little things here and there that would make it a little easier, but not supposed to be easy, I don't think. It's supposed to be a challenge. So. But it was fun, and hopefully maybe we can do it next year. Other than that, that's all I have for now, so I'll send it over to, what is it, KO3AIS. This is W3KZG.
W3KZG, this is KD3AIS, Tim in Malvern. In the last week, I unfortunately missed field day, but when I got home, I was able to listen to the 20-meter band and hear all the traffic, which was positive. So with that, I will send it back to Ron, WA3BEE. This is KD3AIS.
Good, Tim. Excellent. All the way around. So before we get started with the question section, let me ask if there are any other additional check-ins, digital or RF. This is the 985 Workbench, and this is WA3VEE. Additional check-ins, any mode, please call now.
3SCY.
3QP, no question.
Okay, last call for check-ins before we go to Luke and Tim for their comments on what they did in ham radio for the last week. Last call for check-ins. This is WA3VEE.
W3MFB, no question.
Okay, very good. Luke, it's the last check-ins here, KC3SCY, W3QP, W3MFB. So, Luke, 1 minute on what you did in ham radio in the last week. This is WA3VEE, and this is the 985 Workbench.
All right, and Ron, thanks for hosting. In ham radio, of course, I was at field day. That was good. I was working with George and Jim on CW and Joe, so that was all pretty good. And I made a lot of contacts. So, besides for field day, which was, I thought besides for the internet logging system, which we couldn't have planned for that, I thought everything went pretty smoothly. Besides, like, if we had the coax all set up, I thought, well, of course I wasn't there to set up Friday, so because I was at camp, I didn't know what happened then, but at least from Saturday morning, I thought everything went pretty smoothly. So anyways, I've just been working on my CW, and I plan to operate the 13 Colonies event that starts tomorrow, I think, at 8 a.m. So hopefully I can at least make some of the contacts on one band. I hope to make at least half, because more people have told me work them early in the morning instead of late in the afternoon, because that's when all the pileups are. So anyways, over to Tim, W3QP, this is KC3SCY.
C3SCY, this is W3QP. Also, field day for my activity for this past week. I've been busy with stuff around the house, so not too many projects. But I guess one thing I wanted to mention is there is a special event station, K3H, that's going to happen up at the Eastern Pennsylvania Homestead Festival, which is up in, Kutztown. It's in Kutztown this coming weekend, Thursday through Sunday. They're looking for operators to come up and do 2-hour shifts. Joe sent an email out about it, but if you're not on the email list, I'm good on QRZ. Drop me a note, and I can get you the information. That is all for me. Over to W3MFB, I think it was. This is W3QP.
Hey everybody on the Workbench, 985 Workbench, this is Whiskey 3, Mike Fox Bravo, Thorndale Mike. Had fun at field day, spent a few hours on Saturday and a few hours on Sunday operating Ron's radio, the FT991 Alpha that was for 6-meter and 2-meter sideband. Got a kick cranking up that tower, or that mast I should say, Sunday morning. I was sitting at home and noticed there was an opening, a band opening on the PHF propagation, the packet propagation. We were in the yellow and the orange and red, and I was like, oh God, I said, I got to get up there. I bet you that station's still locked down from when we shut it down, when we heard the lightning and all on Saturday evening, Saturday night. So I got that going up in the morning, so made a few contacts here and there, 2-meter sideband and 6 meters. 6-meter was the kicker. Had a few on too. Enjoyed talking to each operator. Actually made the contact, hit enter, logged them in, and then said hello and how are conditions, and got reports from people. Some people were giving me bearings from my location to try to look for a few people. And I actually was able to make some more contacts by that information. So it's great to be friendly and help each other out for sure. So had a great time on 6. It was more fun than just being given your information, your class and section, and you're gone, you know. So we had some fun along with making some contacts for the logbook. No question tonight, so I will pass it over to Ron so we can get this shindig started. WA3VEE, W3MFB on Echo Stink.
Very good, Mike. First of all, I want to thank all those who participated in Field Day this weekend. A lot of work, but a great team effort. And my understanding is we had 1,400 contacts at least, so or thereabouts, plus or minus. And if anyone has any videos or pictures, please, if you like, to have those posted on SmugMug like I usually do, please send them over to me. If there are many, I have Google Drive, I have Dropbox, so I can take large files for sure. So almost never get pictures anymore over email, definitely. So Google Drive or Dropbox will work wonderfully. Okay, now we'll begin the roundtable session. And we'll start with the questions and answers, and I'll go over who has questions here in a second. We encourage all stations to make comments, observations, and share experiences. Don't assume that your level of experience and knowledge isn't enough. We can all learn from each other and contribute to our discussions. So feel free to pick up the mic and have some fun and share your experiences. So right now I've got Gene, KC3HQZ, with a question. I've got KC3SQY with a question, KC3WWC John, and I have Tim, KD3AIS, with a question. Is there anyone on who has checked in who I missed who has a question? Go ahead. You're first. KC3HQZ, WA3VEE. What's your question?
Okay, KC3HQZ. Thanks, Ron. My question is, why does a POTA station have a different call sign than the rest of the field day
activities?
Yeah, field day activities, I guess I want.
Okay, Okay, why does a POTA station have a different call sign than the field day activities? Did I get the question correct?
Yes. Just wondered.
Those who want to respond to Gene's question, this is WA3VEE, please call now.
KC3WWC.
Ahead, KC3WWC, WA3VEE.
Storms rolled in here, so I switched back to digital. I did see a couple POTA stations while I was operating. I was on digital. I was doing FT8 because I just had a few hours. I assume they just didn't want to participate. I know there was some discussion. People are like, oh, the bands are going to be useless because of field day. The field day exchanges were different. You know, you were doing the classes and counts and your section, and that's not the POTA exchange. So maybe they just wanted to stick to POTA and ignore field day. That's my guess. Back to you, KC3WWC.
Additional comments for Gene. This is WA3VEE. Please call now.
AF3Z here, sorry. Clicked twice here. Question, I guess. Were we talking about the GOTA station? Why GOTA was W3GTS and the others were W3R? I'm not sure, but I think that maybe was the question. AF3Z.
Yeah, that's a good point there, Jim. Gene, KC3HQZ, WA3VE, did you mean the GOTA station, GOTA, get on the air station, or POTA, parks on the air? Go ahead.
GOTA.
The G word.
The G word.
Very good. That's a different question. Okay, great. So why does our GOTA station have a different call sign than the Whiskey 3 Romeo? People want to respond to that. Go ahead.
AF3Z.
Go, Jim. Thanks for pointing that out. I didn't catch that at all at first, for sure. Go ahead, Jim. AF3Z, WA3VEE.
All right, very good. And I don't have the answer, but I'll tell you my supposition, my guess, or whatever. The GOTA station is very much to encourage new hams and not yet hams, people who may get licenses eventually, to get on the air. And it's meant to be one of the major efforts of Field Day in a way. So I assume it's kept kind of separate so that and the contacts made on the GOTA station also count more. I think it's like 5 points rather than 1 or 2 for sideband or CW. So anyway, I think it's to encourage groups to have a GOTA station and really emphasize that. And so by keeping it a separate call sign or something, it doesn't add into how many stations we say we have operating. So it's kind of a bonus station for our field day effort, and it's a bonus station for getting the word out and getting people a little experience on ham radio. So that's the way I understand it. I don't know if there's any other big reason for a different call sign, but I've been wrong at least once or twice. Back to you, Ron, AF3Z.
Very good. Any additional comments on why GOTA has a different call sign than the rest of Field Day?
W3MFB.
Audio's a little muffled. Don't know what's going on there, but you're copyable. So go ahead. This is WA3VEE.
Sorry about that, Ron. I will try to enunciate. W3MFB here. I'm thinking, like Jim said as well, having a different call sign to be able to track those GOTAs, GOTA contacts. As Jim said, they're going to be having more points, so you can tally up all the GOTA stations and contacts that you have. Keeping it separate from Whiskey 3 Romeo is a good point, because then you will have the operator's initials in underneath the call sign, so you'll be able to track also how many non-licensed or just newly licensed operators were at the GOTA station. So I believe it's good for metrics as well, keeping track of visitors and newly licensed to get on the air and experience and have fun. So I think that's another good reason to have the other call sign as well. But back to you, Ron. Hopefully I came through okay on the Echo Link. WA3VEE in the group, W3MFB.
That's what it is. Yeah, very good, Mike. Excellent. Ed, any additional comments for Jean before I turn it back to her? This is WA3VEE, and this is the 985 Workbench. C3HQZ, WA3VEE. Did we answer the question?
Yes, you did answer my question. Thanks so much. At least I understand it now. It's more, the GOTA, it's more of a training session, and the regular call sign is for the experienced guys and the ones that are working to get points. And the GOTA is for you to learn how to do this and get on. So I thank you very much. I understand. Okay, K6HQZ.
Good, Gene. Excellent. Well, I'm glad we answered your question, and we should have gotten you over there to actually see what was going on. But you'll see some videos and also a lot of photographs in the GOTA station. Okay, next up is Wayne, KC3SQI, WA3VEE with the Workbench. Your question, please.
Okay, thank you, Ron, WA3VEE. This is KC3SQI. My question is, I'm looking at possibly going from a Wyndham to a hex beam, and the hex beam only weighs 25 pounds, and it will have about a 1 foot base pole on it to work for the rotor. Now, since I'm only going up 30 feet, would a small TV antenna rotor work with that without a thrust bearing? So, trying to find out or figure out about what I would need to not have to have a thrust bearing and go through all of the things that you have to do for that. Back to you.
Very good. Comments or remarks for Wayne? This is WA3VEE.
C3OOK, comment?
Bill, KC3OOK, WA3VEE. Go ahead.
Thanks, Ron. Well, as everyone knows, I'm new to this world of beams and antennas and rotors, and I'll let some others speak about it. But my first reaction would be that, Wayne, 25 pounds is actually pretty good weight for an antenna. They're really pretty darn cheap. They're about 20% of the price of a, say, Yaesu rotor. So it might do it, but I don't think it would hold up for a long time. But that's just my guess. I'll be curious to hear what other people think. Back to you, Ron. WA3VEE, KC3OOK.
Good input. Additional comments for Wayne. This is WA3VEE.
W3MFB.
3MFB, WA3VEE. Go ahead.
Thank you, Ron. I'd have to agree with Bill on that one. I mean, I know there's some that you can get at the local Home Depot or Lowe's. RCA makes one. Now, our buddy Aaron, he had one TV rotor on his homemade 6-meter dipole, horizontal dipole that he made. So it's just PVC and 6-gauge solid gauge wire. It was great for 6 meter, but it didn't weigh a lot. And he had that sitting in a concrete, like a 5-gallon bucket, up on the flat roof, and some PVC pipe. So it really didn't do the job. I mean, it did the job for that. It's a light thing. It only weighed like 6 pounds or whatever, right? Just the antenna, or less. Most TV HD antennas, they're going to be from the 10-pound, like the residential ones that you see around here. Some Yagi shapes, some different shapes. But I would imagine they're probably like 12 or 10 pounds or less. And I agree with Bill on the dexterity of the consumer market rotors. Back to Ron. WA3VEE, W3MFB.
Very, very good. Additional comments for Wayne. Good question, Wayne, for sure. This is WA3VEE. Additional comments.
OGF.
Very good. N3OGF. Your comments, please. This is WA3VEE.
Had a Radio Shack, Wabby's Radio Shack antenna rotor. The first one I had a 4-element Cushcraft mounted horizontal. High wind, it destroyed it. I've had a 13D2 mounted on it and a 6-meter Cushcraft horizontally on 2 different ones, and they were fine. But the first one, it got destroyed in high wind with a 4-element Cushcraft, N3OGF.
Very good. N3OGF, if I remember correctly, your name is John. Did I get that right?
Did, Ron. My name is John. I met you last year up at the field day. I could not make it this year because I'm medically restricted from driving. N3OGF. Very good.
Well, look for the photographs. We'll be glad to share with what we did. Excellent comments. Other comments for Wayne and the rotor question. This is WA3VEE.
3KZG.
W3KZG, WA3VEE. Go ahead, please.
So I looked up the specs on a Channel Master TV rotor. I'm guessing that's the version or something similar to that. And they don't have a weight rating for the weight of the antenna. They just tell you what the rotor's capable of doing. If you were going to do it, I don't see it not working, but I would put the antenna as close to the rotor as possible. Don't put a big piece of pipe above the rotor to give it extra wind torque on the rotor itself. Just put the antenna right above the rotor, maybe a foot, and keep it as close to the rotor as possible. And you should be okay. I don't know how many years of service it'll give you, but it should work. But 25 pounds, that seems pretty heavy for, I don't know what the antenna is. I haven't looked that up. But, yeah, I would keep it as close to the rotor as possible to keep wind torque off of it because they have very small, I don't even think they use bearings. I think they use plastic bushings on their main shaft in those ones. They're considered a light-duty rotor. for that reason. But like I said, I don't know the antenna and the wind load it's going to put on it. But I would keep it as close to the rotor as possible. This is W3KZG.
Good, Scott. Thank you so much. Any additional comments for Wayne? I'll throw my 2 centavos or 2 zloty in here. Basically, I'm looking up also generally a question. Usually, put a question like this right to Google, and it comes up channel master. And this is one model. Do not know again if this is what you're considering, but says the Channel Master 9521A is designed for antennas weighing approximately 15 pounds with a mass of about 3 feet. Again, these are consumer grade. They're light duty. So not sure it would really handle. And also consider ice. It's one thing that this time of year with thunderstorms outside and heat and humidity, ice, unless it's in a glass with iced tea or whatever your preferred beverage is, we normally don't think about ice, but that adds an additional weight load. So my suggestion would be go for a light or medium duty Yaesu, not something to cheap out on. So one last call for comments for Wayne. This is WA3VEE. KC3SQI, WA3VEE. Did we answer your question, Wayne?
Good evening, everybody. Yes, you did, and I think I will also put the thrust bearing on it and put that to the top of the 1.5" rigid conduit, and that should keep it where it'll work for go with the light duty Yaesu and a thrust bearing. So thank you for that, and I will turn it back to you, Ron. KC3SQI. Clear?
Hey, very good, Wayne. Excellent. John, you're next. KC3WWC with a question. This is WA3VEE with the Workbench.
Thanks, Ron. This is KC3WWC. Am I still making it in on digital?
Beautiful. Full copy and almost full quieting. Go right ahead.
I have an end-fed half wave here for 80 meters. It breaks occasionally, and I put it back up, and I'm having a little trouble getting it to tune on all the, or not tune, but get it resonant on all the bands, all the harmonics. It doesn't quite line up. I've got a capacitor in there that I've put in and out, and I saw what that does. But I end up using the tuner on the radio to touch it up and use it that way. So I'm wondering if I'm getting much benefit, if I'm using the tuner half the time, is there much benefit over just a long random wire? I could go back to my favorite 71-foot random wire out to the same tree and use the tuner the same way. Does it make much difference between the end-fed half wave and the end-fed random wire if I'm not quite hitting all the resonances? Back to you.
Very, very good. Comments for John. This is WA3VEE.
Some random thoughts, NA3CW.
NA3CW, WA3VEE. Please proceed with randomness thoughts.
Yeah, I assume your end-fed half wave has a transformer?
Yes, I've built it with a 49-to-1, and I think I have a 64-to-1 that I wound that I'm using right now.
Okay, and therefore you have a coax feed from that transformer to your tuner?
Correct. Coax feed, probably about 50 feet of coax, and I do have a counterpoise on the antenna as well.
How bad a mismatch are you getting?
It gets towards 3 to 1 in some of the places, and I'll touch it up to get it down closer to 2.5 or 2 to 1. There are a couple that go up to like 5.
Okay. I assume it's okay to go back and forth, Ron. When you had the wire going directly to your tuner, did you have any, what made you change it from that to an end-fed half-wave?
Oh, I just like to change things occasionally and experiment. I had always done random wires here, but I realized I had enough space I could just eke out the 40 meter long wire to that tree, so I gave it a shot.
Okay, so I'll roll it all up here. So you have the tuner, you got 50 feet of coax running at a high SWR, and you've got a transformer that may or may not be running in its efficient range. I would say if the way you had it was you were able to tune it to all the bands you want satisfactorily without anything in the middle, I'm thinking it's probably more efficient, assuming you had no issues with RF in the wrong places and all that sort of thing. But from a loss standpoint, you're eliminating a transformer and eliminating 50 feet of coax that's running at high SWR. I'd like to hear some other comments on that from others. Back to Net, NA3CW.
Comment?
This is WA3VEE, please.
To be clear, I swapped antennas around, but I'm using the same radio with the same built-in tuner and the same run of coax. Just at the end of the coax, I am swapping the transformer and the wire. Back to you.
3CW, WA3VEE. Chuck, you want to respond to that, or, well, let me ask you that first question first. Do you want to respond to that?
I'm not sure I heard all of it or understood what I heard. You want to say all that again, please?
Okay, yeah, thanks, Chuck. This is KC3WWC. I have the same radio with the same built-in tuner and the same run of coax for any of my antenna setups. Then the transformer and the wire changes. That's it. So the coax is involved and the counterpoise is involved in everything. Back to you.
So you were tuning your random wire at the end of a piece of coax, yes?
I thought I could go a little bit longer. Let's try something else.
In here for a second. John, you're clipping the very first part of your transmission, so again, give it a couple seconds after you press the PTT. We missed the first couple syllables there, what you said. I think it was Chuck was asking you a yes/no question. We totally missed that. So I think he asked if you're tuning the antenna at the end of that coax. So give it a little bit of delay before you respond. KC3WWC WA3VEE.
Yep, sorry about that. I got excited, but I'm on digital. It's the same radio to tuner, radio with tuner to coax to transformer to wire. So the tuner is always at the radio end of the coax. Back to you.
I understand that. So back when you were doing your random wire, you had a random wire at the end of that coax as opposed to the so-called end-fed half wave with the transformer. Is that correct? And again, click, then talk.
Yes, the random wire was at the end of the coax, and there was a 9-to-1 transformer in between, instead of the 49-to-1 for the end-fed, or for the end-fed half wave. I had a 9-to-1.
Okay. Yeah, I wish you had said you had a tuner out at the end, but you don't. I guess one last question. What size is your coax?
I have to... I'm not positive, actually. It's not the thin stuff, but it's not LMR 400. It's probably, was it 58 or whatever it is?
Okay. Yeah. You have a combination of inefficiencies there. Running high SWR on RG58 versus, say, an RG8 family. You got a lot of loss there. This is a more complicated question than maybe we have time for. Generally speaking, you don't want to be tuning a high SWR load through a piece of coax, especially small coax, and that's what that is for this purpose. Generally, a remote tuner is the ticket for what you want to do. The remote tuner and a piece of wire. The fact that you have difficulty getting a transformer down to a decent SWR with the 49-to-1, and you're trying various remote tweaks at that. Yeah, that's a difficult situation. And yeah, I think I'm rambling. Back to Net.
Very good. Let me stop there and let me ask, first of all, John, is this making any sense? And are you looking for additional comments? KC3 WWC WA3 VEE.
I am all for like experimenting and stuff, and that's what I've been doing. But I ask questions along the way so I can see if I understand it a little bit better. I understand that it would be better to tune at the other end. I do put the nano VNA on my end-fed half wave, and I try to lengthen it and bump it around to like try to get all the bands closer, but there's still some that aren't, and I need the tuner. So the question is, if I've got my end-fed half wave and I'm still needing the tuner for some of those bands, am I any better off than if it was just a random wire that would work just fine too, on the coax with the same inefficiencies and all that, same feed inefficiencies? Yeah, so I just wondered, should I stick with the end-fed, or is it fine at that point to just go back to the random wire and try that again and see how it, I'll see how it does, how it performs. Back to you, KC3 WWC.
3QP.
Tim, go ahead. W3QP WA3 VEE.
W3 VEE and the group W3QP. I certainly agree with everything Chuck's saying. I think to try to get at the question you're asking, you talked about having trouble getting the half wave to line up on all the ham bands. That is super normal, especially when you're running in trees. Everything reacts with everything, and so what I get on my property and what you get on your property is very likely to be different. So that's pretty normal. I do not know off the top of my head what the efficiency of a 9-to-1 and what the efficiency is of a 49-to-1 from a transformer perspective. So taking everything out of the equation, and I'm making numbers up because I don't know, if the 49 is 90% efficiency and the 9 to 1 is 99% efficiency, obviously there's an advantage there. I don't know. I do know with the half waves, you can stack cores to handle more power, but it also affects the efficiency. I'll have to dig around and see if I can find the article that I have that gets into the efficiencies there. There are ways of measuring that with your nano VNA, but I don't know the details off the top of my head. As for the individual bands, it really depends on what SWR you're pulling on the individual bands. Again, I'll make up numbers. If you're at 1.5 to 1 on 20 meters with the half wave, and you're 1.6 to 1 on 20 meters with the random wire, then for that band, your half wave is a little bit more efficient. Again, you have to look at the transformer side of things. So it just really depends on what band you're using, what the efficiency is for that particular band. The transformers are not going to be the same efficiency across all the bands, so it really gets down and you're going to have to measure and dig out the numbers. Somebody on the internet might have answers for you, but I certainly don't know. I don't know if that helps point you in a direction, if that answers your question. I will turn it back over to Nat. This is W3QP.
Very good, John. Let me turn it back to you and see if we gave you enough information to go on there. KC3 WWC WA3 VEE.
Yes, Tim, thank you, and Chuck, thank you. It gives me some things to think about, especially like the efficiency of the transformer that I've built, and swapping them in and out, and what they might be doing. I did play around with a 49 to 1 and a 64 to 1 as I was trying to make things happen. But it's good also to know that it's not uncommon for them to just be a little, just for some of the bands to be a little off when I look at the tunings. So, yeah, I'll do the experiment. I'll report back. Maybe the 71-foot wire is, well, I'll look back and realize it doesn't perform near as well. But I'll give it a shot, and I'll see what I can measure. Thank you. KC3 WWC.
Comment.
Okay, very good. Last question for the evening is Tim, KD3 AIS WA3 VEE. Tim had a power failure out there. KD3 AIS WA3 VEE. I'm going to check the Pico outage map.
KD3 AIS. Sorry, I stepped away at the wrong time. My apologies.
Tim, go ahead with your question.
My question is a newer ham who's not a general yet, and trying to listen to the traffic on field day just on 20 meters, because that was the easiest for me to do. I'm on a Yaesu FT991A, and I started thinking about, I wonder if a computer screen is helpful, or some kind of screen is helpful at all in trying to navigate HF. I'm sure there's plenty of people that will say, never used it. I can look at all the the pictures of people's stations that have no screen, so I'm sure it's possible to do without a computer screen. But I was just interested, has anybody ever found it beneficial to use a computer screen, and or maybe this is why people get a second radio and then it has slightly bigger screen? So my question is a screen helpful at all in looking at tuning in HF? Your thoughts. Thank you.
W3MFB.
Comments for Tim. This is WA3VEE.
Sorry, Ron. W3MFB comment.
3MFB, WA3VEE. Go ahead, Mike.
Thank you, Ron. You know, working Echolink on the phone is, I haven't done it in a while. It's a little difficult. I have also have that radio, and I operated it on field day for 6 meter and 2 meter sideband. I've had that radio. It's my only 100 watt radio I've had since I've been a ham, since 19. Honestly, all right, so the waterfall on the 991's like looking at the NES Super Mario Brother 8-bit, you know? And then you see all the other modern Yaesu or ICOM 7300, whatever, and it's like, you know, PlayStation 4 or 5, right? Honestly, yes, it's nice when you're, say you're on a frequency and you're finishing up your QSO or whatever, and then you see some activity down below. But honestly, I use it, yes, but would I put it on the computer screen? No. Personally, I would not do that because I'm listening. I'm using my ears and I'm turning that dial. I'm using my ears and turning that dial because if you don't have the waterfall, you don't have a spectrum scope on your radio or whatever, you're just using your ears and turning the dial, and you're listening for good stations that you can copy, especially on field day or a contest. I always make sure that I am able to, first I listen. I don't just jump at the, oh my God, there's somebody in Washington. Who cares? Okay, I'm going to listen and make sure that I can understand their call sign and understand the information they're giving, say it's POTA or something like that, what the number is. I usually write all that stuff down first, and then once I can hear them fine, then I make the contact. Yes, all the technology that these newer radios have is excellent, but me personally, I guess I'm new school to ham, but old school in thinking. I don't think it's necessary, but that's just my point of view. W3MFB, back to Ron.
Hey, very good, Mike. Other comments for Tim? This is WA3VEE. You're listening to the 985 Workbench. Other comments, please.
W8CRW.
W8CRW. WA3VEE. You guys, CR.
I agree with Mike, but I would say I have a 19-inch monitor connected to my Yaesu FTDX10, and it makes looking at the screen a lot easier. It's not necessary, but I call it a bonus. Back to net.
Okay, very good, CR. Other comments for Tim? WA3VEE here.
3KZG.
3KZG, WA3VEE. Guys, Scott.
Agree with CR. I also have a DX10. Now, it's not, I think the DX10 screen is actually slightly larger than the one on the 991A, if I'm not mistaken, but I'm not sure. But, however, I did have the screen hooked up to my DX10 for, I would say, the first half of Saturday on field day. And then I had to give up the power cord for that monitor to my brother so he could recharge his batteries that he was running his 7300 off of, because we had only brought one computer plug cable, and that's what his battery charger used. So I went the rest of field day without the big screen, and it didn't seem to inhibit me at all. So it is nice looking at the big monitor, though, especially if you have aging eyes or wear glasses, I would think. It is easier to see the band scope and all that stuff, but not needed. But it's a nice to have. And then just I've been warned so many times, just be sure to use a DVI monitor or something like that to make sure you don't backfeed voltage into the radio. If you would use like an HDMI adapter, you have to be careful. Back to you, Ron.
True. Absolutely very true. Additional comments for Tim. This is WA3VE. CW. 3CW, WA3VEE.
Okay.
in the immortal words of KFC. Okay. Just this weekend, I had Ron's 710, and it has a little screen on it, and he plugged it into a big screen. Now, I agree that the bigger screen makes it easier to see your settings and look at the S-meter, and frequency is, right there in front of you, and especially with all the visitors we had, it was a wonderful thing, especially with all the visitors. But as far as the band scope went, the general condition was so noisy and so packed with stations that the band scope was pretty much useless. Because you were getting perfectly, I won't say perfectly copyable, but copyable stations that were down in the grass that did not, show themselves above the general hash at the bottom of the screen any more than just the noise was. So it didn't point anything out. It didn't provide any new information. Again, this is just the band scope thing, but it was, like I said, it was great PR. Now, if you're in a band, I won't say no experience on 6, but I have the next best thing to no experience on 6. And in a band like 6 or 10, which comes and goes, and there's activity that you don't know about, and you're not necessarily scanning your VFO up and down the band, it may be useful to say, oh, there's some activity down here that I didn't know about. So you go dial, 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 and you see them and hear them, and you can work them. In that case, the band scope, I think, would be useful in a sparse band when you're waiting for things to pop up. In a crowded band, it's just a zoo. It's just grass on the screen, from what I can see. But, it's like Scott said, it would be nice to have. But as far as enhancing operation, especially with the band scope, it depends on what you're doing and what band you're on. Back to Net, NA3CW.
Very, very good. Excellent all the way around. Great questions and great answers here and great comments. Final comments for Tim. This is WA3VEE.
KC3WWC.
3WWC, WA3VEE. Go ahead, John.
My little HF radio here has a pretty big screen. It's mostly screen. And it'll be sitting there on all the time. And I use the waterfall a lot because I'm not necessarily paying attention to it, but I can glance over and see the CW band on fire, and know I'm like, oh, there's some kind of contest. I should go listening, I should tune around a little bit and listen to some CW. It's cool for just monitoring, I think. And it helps kind of zero in on a signal real fast if you're scrolling around. Back to you.
Very good. Excellent. Tim, KD3AIS, did we answer your question? WA3VEE.
Yes, Ron, everybody did, and thank you very much for all the feedback. And I think I would just say I normally have my radio on with the volume all the way down because I have it at my desk when I'm working during the day. And so maybe I've developed a lazy habit to watch that waterfall to see when somebody's talking. But that said, I think my takeaway from this, and this is a great limit on my tendency to just go out and buy something. And I think my takeaway from this is to maybe my time is better spent rather than driving down to HRO and buying a screen or buying a different radio to actually study for the general exam and pass it. So thank you to the Net. This is KD3AIS, back to WA3VE.
Very, very good. Is there anyone else with a question out there who's checked in already? WA3VEE, last call for questions. Nothing heard. Before we close down the workbench for the evening, let's see if we have anyone else who wants to check in. So if you've been listening or just tuned in, we'd like to hear from you. Last call for check-ins just to get on the log. WA3VEE.
Hey, Ron, W3MFB. I did have a question real quick, and you can answer it very quickly.
Go ahead, Mike. W3MFB, WA3VEE.
Thank you very much. Real quick question. Up at the field day site, hey, is that 6 meter and 2 meter beam up there all the time for use?
Question. Who wants to answer Mike's question about the 6 and 2 meter beam? This is WA3VEE. Chuck, go ahead. A3CW, WA3VEE.
I'm speaking for George, but I think as long as it's up, it's available. The only issue is you'll have to put coax on it because there's no coax on either of those antennas right now.
Very good. Mike, back to you. W3MFB, WA3VEE. Go ahead.
All right. Thank you very much, Chuck. And that answers the question. No problem. All right. I appreciate it. Thank you. W3MFB.
Excellent. Very, very good. Thanks to all stations tonight for checking into the 985 Workbench. And a big thank you to Joe, W3GMS, for making the 985 repeater available for the Workbench. You are invited to use the repeater often. It's a great way to show that you appreciate the gift of 985 to the amateur radio community. Finally, we hope to hear you again on Thursday evening at 8 p.m. during the 985 Roundtable. This concludes the Workbench for tonight. Feel free to stick around and continue the discussion on 985 if you like. Have a good night. Great week ahead. 7-3. This is WA3 VEE. I'll be clear in QRT.